Lot of some people crush every goal while others struggle to move an inch. It isn't luck, it's the lessons they live by. The difference lies in the mindset they build, the habits they master, and the beliefs they protect. If you want to outperform everyone else, start by learning what the unstoppable already know. Strip away excuses, destroy distractions, and rise with purpose. Once you embrace these lessons, nothing can hold you back. The world doesn't reward the average, it bows to the unstoppable. Which one will you be? In just a few moments, you will uncover the key lessons to become unstoppable and outperform those who once outpaced you. You must decide who you are going to be. Most people drift through life like shadows, never truly choosing, only reacting. There comes a pivotal moment when you must stand before the mirror of your soul and decide, who are you becoming? Until you answer this question with absolute conviction, you will forever float in currents designed by others. You must choose to be the architect of your destiny, not a wanderer lost in the wilderness of possibility. This clarity of identity becomes your North Star. Without it, every shiny distraction becomes a dangerous detour. But once you know exactly who you're meant to be, the universe responds. The chaos that once overwhelmed you shrinks to manageable size. The constant noise that clouded your judgment quiets to a whisper. You no longer exhaust yourself chasing fleeting approval because you walk with unmistakable purpose. And purpose, true purpose, makes you magnetic to opportunity. How do you claim this transformative power? Begin by writing it down, not vague, half-formed dreams, not goals borrowed from others' expectations, but a decision carved in stone. I am the person who will build what others thought impossible, conquer what others feared to approach, and lead where others hesitated to venture. Then you speak it aloud until your voice no longer trembles. You live it through daily choices that align with this vision. You suffer for it when the path grows steep, and you rise with it again and again when obstacles knock you down. Booker T. Washington. Born into the chains of slavery, he possessed no wealth, no connections, no clear path forward, but he decided with unshakable certainty who he would become. From that singular clarity, he built the Tuskegee Institute from nothing, led a movement that transformed education, and shaped an entire generation's understanding of possibility. He chose his identity before the world handed him one. So must you. The question stands before you now like a doorway to your future. Will you passively accept the labels and limitations others place upon you? Or will you define yourself once and for all with the fierce determination that separates extraordinary lives from ordinary existence? Your answer is not just a thought. It's a declaration that will echo through every decision you make hereafter. Choose wisely, choose boldly, but above all, choose. Set a goal so big it scares small thinking away. The size of your goal determines the size of your life. Most people don't fail because they're aiming too high and missing. They fail because they're aiming too low and hitting their mark with disappointing precision. They play it safe, nestled in comfort, thinking small. But you weren't born to be average, you were born to be extraordinary. When you set a goal so massive it makes your heart race, so ambitious it forces you to stretch beyond your current capabilities, so compelling it causes you to wake up hungry for progress, you become something more than you were yesterday. That caliber of goal kills laziness at its root. It crushes doubt under its weight. It makes excuses appear so pathetically inadequate they cannot survive in its presence. Because now you're not just chasing an outcome, you're pursuing something that demands your complete transformation. Begin with a crystal clear vision. What would the absolute pinnacle version of your life look like? Not just measured in dollars and cents, but in meaningful impact. Not just evaluated by comfort acquired, but by contribution made. Write this vision down with painstaking detail. Draw it if words fail you. Speak it aloud daily until it becomes the only language your soul recognizes and responds to. Thomas Edison. He wasn't merely trying to craft a marginally better candle. Such pedestrian thinking would have changed nothing. Instead, he fixed his sights on lighting the entire world. People laughed at the audacity. They mocked his repeated failures. The small-minded called him foolish. But Edison remained unmoved, continuing his relentless pursuit until he discovered the filament that would literally illuminate humanity's path forward. That's the transformative power of a goal that terrifies mediocrity. It rewires your neural pathways to focus exclusively on solutions rather than dwelling on temporary setbacks. Small goals create small lives. They demand little and return less. They don't wake you up at night with excitement or drive you to work while others rest. They don't force you to become more than you are. But a goal of magnificent proportion, it pulls you forward like gravity. It gives ordinary days extraordinary purpose. It makes the impossible seem merely difficult, and the difficult merely a matter of time. Your mind will fight this at first. It will produce perfectly reasonable objections. That's too big. People like me don't achieve things like that. I don't have the resources. What if I fail? Recognize these thoughts for what they are. The death throes of small thinking, as it's being crushed by the weight of your emerging greatness. Setting a goal of this magnitude requires courage. It means standing alone sometimes. It means facing ridicule from those who cannot comprehend your vision. It means risking failure on a scale that would terrify the average person, but it also means discovering capacities within yourself that would have remained forever dormant had you chosen the path of comfortable mediocrity. Look at any person who has fundamentally changed their field, their community, or the world. From business titans to scientific pioneers, from artistic revolutionaries to social reformers. None of them set out to make incremental improvements to the status quo. They set goals so audacious they were often laughed out of rooms. Yet their visions were precisely what allowed them to persevere when lesser ambitions would have collapsed. The question stands before you now, demanding an answer. Will you dream like the average, setting goals that require nothing more than you already possess? Or will you build like a visionary, creating a target so magnificent it forces you to become the person capable of achieving it? Your answer changes everything. Burn the bridges that lead back to comfort. You can never become truly unstoppable if you always leave yourself an escape route. Safety is the silent, seductive enemy of greatness. The critical decision stands before you. Will you maintain a comfortable backup plan, or will you march forward with unwavering commitment and no possibility of retreat? Too many people whisper hesitantly, "I'll try," words that secretly preserve the option of surrender. But those who ultimately triumph declare with conviction, "I must." The individuals who soar to exceptional heights don't keep doorways open to old habits, familiar fears, or previous versions of themselves. They burn the ships at the shore and permanently close the path backward. So how do you implement this transformative principle? First, you systematically eliminate distractions that pull your focus from your ultimate objective. You stop entertaining failure as a legitimate possibility in your mental landscape. You make a binding declaration to your family, your friends, and most importantly, to your own soul. This is who I am now, and when inevitable challenges arise, when the path grows difficult and doubt creeps in, you refuse to negotiate with weaker impulses. You remind yourself that retreat is no longer physically possible. Hernán Cortés, who upon arriving in the New World issued the unthinkable command for his men to burn their ships. Why such a drastic action? Because he understood that eliminating the option of return would transform his men's psychology. Without an escape plan, the only direction remaining was forward. Because of that single decision, they conquered against overwhelming odds. Without a fallback position, human potential expands to meet the demands of circumstance. This same principle applies directly to your goals, your discipline, your most cherished dream. Burning bridges creates clarity. When retreat is impossible, innovation becomes necessary. When comfort is no longer accessible, strength becomes inevitable. The human spirit, when cornered by its own highest aspirations, will discover resources previously hidden from view. This approach defies conventional wisdom. Society celebrates keeping options open, maintaining safety nets, and preserving Plan B. But those who transform their lives and leave lasting marks on the world understand a counterintuitive truth. Options breed hesitation. Multiple paths create division of energy. Safety nets unconsciously permit falls. The most powerful commitments are those that eliminate alternatives. Marriage works because two people decide to burn the bridges to other relationships. Successful entrepreneurs often succeed precisely because they've cut off retreat to conventional employment. Athletic champions emerge when they've eliminated every pursuit except mastery of their discipline. The discomfort you feel at this concept directly corresponds to how necessary it might be in your life. The very bridges you're most reluctant to burn likely represent the very comforts keeping you from your greatest potential. What bridges must you courageously set aflame today? What comfortable fallback options are secretly undermining your commitment? What old habits, relationships, or mindsets are you preserving that actually preserve your Identify them, name them, then eliminate them with the decisive action that has launched every great achievement throughout history. Remember, those who keep their ships intact may always have somewhere to retreat, but they rarely have reason to advance. Repeat until it's boring, then master it anyway. You don't become excellent by dabbling in passing interests. You become excellent by choosing disciplined repetition over constant entertainment. While most people endlessly chase novelty and excitement, true success lies hidden in seeming monotony. It's concealed in doing the same fundamental thing over and over until it transforms from conscious effort into pure instinct. When others grow bored and quit, you stay rooted. When the initial thrill fades but the duty remains unchanged, you don't merely persist, you double down. This is precisely how you separate yourself from the mediocre masses. You commit to doing what must be done whether it excites your emotions or not. The professionals understand what amateurs never grasp. Excellence lives on the far side of boredom. Build a daily routine that systematically protects your growth from distraction. Discipline your mind to find deeper satisfaction in repetition than in variety. Each additional rep at the gym, each extra hour of focused reading, each uncomfortable conversation you initiate rather than avoid, these are the individual bricks that collectively build your castle of mastery. The walls grow stronger not through innovation, but through consistent, patient application. Jesse Owens, who trained for years in relative obscurity before the world recognized his name. His daily regimen wasn't glamorous or exciting. It consisted of the same fundamental movements repeated thousands of times when no one was watching. But when he eventually ran in Berlin, every powerful stride represented the culmination of relentless, often boring, unseen practice. What made him immortal wasn't the event itself, it was the preparation that preceded it. The world celebrates moments of triumph, but rarely witnesses the tedious repetition that creates them. Behind every virtuoso pianist lies thousands of hours of practice. The virtuoso pianist plays the same scales for decades. The champion fighter throws the same punch 10,000 times. The successful writer produces pages daily, whether inspiration strikes or not. This principle extends beyond physical skills into every domain of excellence. The greatest business leaders master fundamental principles and apply them consistently. The most influential thinkers explore the same core questions with deepening insight. The most impactful relationships are built on reliable habits of attention and care, not sporadic grand gestures. Mastery requires you to fall in love with boredom, to recognize that progress often feels like stagnation because true advancement happens incrementally, almost imperceptibly. The day-to-day progress may seem minimal, but the compound effect over time becomes unstoppable. This is why so few achieve greatness. They cannot tolerate the plateau periods where visible progress seems absent despite continued effort. The question you must face honestly: are you willing to be occasionally bored for the sake of your greatness? Or do you require constant stimulation and variety to maintain commitment? Your answer reveals whether you're building for temporary excitement or lasting impact. The professionals understand that repetition isn't the enemy of growth, it's the very engine that powers it. They grasp that mastery isn't just doing something well once under ideal conditions, but performing excellently, repeatedly under any circumstances. This capacity emerges only through deliberate, consistent practice beyond the point where novelty has long since disappeared. Choose what matters most, then commit to it beyond boredom. The reward isn't just skill, it's the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you've earned your expertise through the kind of dedication few will sustain. Replace fear with service. Fear shrinks your power, but service multiplies it exponentially. When your focus remains fixed on yourself, your ego, your image, your personal outcomes, fear will inevitably dominate your decisions. But when you deliberately shift your purpose toward helping others, you become surprisingly bold, remarkably unshakable. You see, fear at its core is merely self-absorption disguised as caution. It's the voice constantly asking, what will they think of me? What if I fail and look foolish? But service asks entirely different questions. Who desperately needs me to succeed today? Who suffers if I play small or remain silent? That fundamental shift transforms paralyzing fear into powerful fuel. Begin with small acts of service. Serve your immediate team by consistently showing up with excellence when mediocrity would be tolerated. Serve your family by modeling resilience when circumstances invite collapse. Serve your community by solving problems others ignore. Serve the world by becoming the highest, most capable version of yourself. Suddenly, fear becomes strangely irrelevant because you're no longer the central point of the narrative. Florence Nightingale, who refused to let fear of disease or biting social criticism deter her mission. While others retreated from sickness and suffering, she advanced toward it with determined compassion. She focused exclusively on saving lives amid deplorable conditions, and in doing so, transformed into a global symbol of courage that resonates generations later. Her mission grew larger than her fears. Yours can too. The paradox of courage is that it rarely emerges from focusing on being brave. It emerges naturally when something matters more than your comfort. Parents routinely demonstrate this truth. The same person who fears public speaking will unhesitatingly confront anyone who threatens their child. Their service to another instantly overshadows personal fear. This principle works equally well in business, creative pursuits, or personal growth. The entrepreneur who focuses primarily on not failing stays paralyzed. The entrepreneur dedicated to solving a meaningful problem for others moves forward despite uncertainty. The artist worried about criticism produces nothing. The artist committed to expressing truth that might help even one person creates prolifically. When you focus inward, obstacles appear insurmountable. When you focus outward on service, those same obstacles become merely problems to solve for the benefit of others. Practical application begins with a single question each morning. Who can I serve today, and how? Start noticing needs around you. Listen for problems you're uniquely positioned to address. Train yourself to interpret fear not as a warning to retreat, but as a signal that something meaningful awaits your contribution. The greatest leaders throughout history share this common trait. They replaced self-concern with genuine service. Their personal fears became irrelevant compared to the urgency of their mission to improve others' lives. The pivotal question now confronts you. Will you continue hiding behind your fears, making yourself the center of every situation? Or will you lead boldly with your purpose, focusing on the difference you're here to make? Master your mind before you master anything else. The battlefield of life is first won in the mind. Before you achieve externally, you must believe internally. Before you rise in the world, you must train your thoughts to obey your command with military precision. Your mind functions as the absolute command center of your destiny, yet most people never fully claim control of this most powerful asset. If your thoughts remain scattered and undisciplined, your results will inevitably mirror that chaos. But when you systematically discipline your thinking patterns, your actions naturally align. Your focus dramatically sharpens, and your path becomes virtually unstoppable. Everything meaningful begins there, with what you deliberately allow to take residence in your mental space. Train your mind with the same intensity and methodology an elite athlete applies to physical training. Daily affirmations that reinforce your identity, vivid visualization of desired outcomes, immediate rejection of negative input, and consistent intellectual growth are not optional luxuries, They are absolute necessities for anyone seeking extraordinary results. Andrew Carnegie, who rose from poverty to become a steel industry titan despite minimal formal education. He employed focused mental discipline to amass unprecedented fortune and influence in his era. Carnegie visualized his objectives, affirmed his capabilities, and believed in his vision with such unwavering intensity that others were magnetically drawn into his reality. His mind created his empire before the first factory was built. Most people allow their thoughts to wander aimlessly like untrained children, pulled in every direction by external influences, media headlines, others' opinions, passing emotions, and ancient fears. This mental wandering produces precisely the results you would expect: directionless lives, unfocused efforts, and unrealized potential. The disciplined mind sees what others miss. It finds opportunities where others see obstacles. It maintains composure when emotions would typically hijack rational thought. It focuses intently on solutions while others remain fixated on problems. This mental mastery creates an insurmountable advantage in every area of life. Begin this practice immediately. Spend 10 minutes visualizing your desired outcomes with sensory richness. Throughout the day, catch negative thought patterns and redirect them with the same urgency you would use to correct physical missteps. Feed your mind exclusively with content that elevates and expands your thinking. Guard your mental environment ferociously. The information you consume, the conversations you entertain, and the internal dialogue you permit fundamentally shape your reality. Treat low-quality inputs as you would poison, with absolute rejection. Surround yourself instead with wisdom, inspiration, and strategic knowledge that fuels your vision. Remember that your subconscious mind accepts whatever your conscious mind repeatedly presents to it. By controlling those presentations through affirmation, visualization, and selective focus, you effectively program your internal navigation system toward your desired destination. The pivotal question stands before you. Are you passively letting your thoughts drift wherever external currents carry them, or are you actively steering them with deliberate purpose toward the future you intend to create? Your answer determines everything that follows. Learn to love the struggle. You can't build genuine strength without meaningful resistance. The struggle you face is not some cosmic punishment. It's deliberate preparation. Too many people invest enormous energy avoiding discomfort, and then wonder why they remain frustratingly average. But those who truly rise, who break through barriers and achieve uncommon results, are those who deliberately lean into challenges and learn to love the refining fire. Discomfort stretches you beyond your current limitations. It mercilessly exposes your weaknesses, but simultaneously builds unshakable toughness. When you develop the wisdom to see pain as a gift rather than an enemy, you transform setbacks into high-octane fuel. The struggle itself becomes sacred, a necessary crucible that forges excellence from ordinary materials. So how do you genuinely fall in love with what most people spend their lives avoiding? You purposefully embrace the daily grind without complaint. You celebrate every obstacle as an essential teacher, offering wisdom unavailable through easier paths. You continue investing maximum effort, even when there's no external validation or applause, and over time, this approach fundamentally changes you. You become someone who naturally thrives under pressure that would crush others. Booker T. Washington, who as a young man walked over 500 miles just to reach Hampton Institute. Upon arrival, with no money for tuition, he cleaned classrooms and worked as a janitor to pay his way through school. His extraordinary struggle didn't break his spirit. It built the formidable leader the world would later celebrate. The hardship wasn't separate from his success. It was the very foundation of it. The uncomfortable truth is that struggle serves as the ultimate filtering mechanism, separating those committed to mastery from those merely interested in it. When difficulty appears, the merely interested make excuses and retreat. The committed find ways to continue advancing despite the pain. Look carefully at anyone who has achieved remarkable results in any field. Behind their public success lies a private history of struggles embraced rather than avoided. The championship athlete endured thousands of brutal training sessions. The successful entrepreneur weathered countless rejections and failures. The impactful leader faced opposition that would have silenced ordinary voices. Begin reframing your relationship with struggle today. When discomfort appears, pause to recognize its value. Ask yourself, what strength is this building in me? What weakness is it exposing that I can now address? How will this prepare me for greater challenges ahead? This perspective transforms struggle from enemy to ally. Remember that comfort and growth cannot coexist. Each moment of chosen discomfort, whether physical, mental, emotional, or social, expands your capacity. Each obstacle overcome rewires your brain to expect success rather than defeat. Each setback met with resilience rather than retreat builds the psychological foundation for achievement that cannot be shaken by circumstance. The defining question now stands before you. Are you still strategizing to avoid the very struggles designed to transform you? Or are you allowing yourself to be deliberately sculpted by them into something extraordinary? Your answer will determine not just what you achieve, but who you become. Speak with power or be ignored. Your voice is your primary instrument of influence. If you speak with hesitation and doubt, people will inevitably treat your ideas with the same hesitation and doubt. But when you speak with genuine authority, the world stops to listen. Your tone, your deliberate choice of words, your unwavering belief in what you're saying, these elements collectively determine your impact and influence. You must systematically train yourself to communicate with razor-sharp precision and unshakable conviction, not arrogance or bluster, but authentic certainty. Because the uncomfortable truth remains, no one will fully believe in your vision until you demonstrate complete belief in your own words. Practice this skill daily with intentionality. Speak your vision aloud, even when alone, to strengthen your conviction. Volunteer to lead meetings rather than hiding in the background. Face confrontational conversations directly instead of avoiding them. Learn to maintain composure under verbal pressure when others would crumble. This development isn't optional or merely advantageous. It's an absolute requirement for anyone who aims to lead others toward meaningful change. Winston Churchill, who began life as a shy child with a noticeable speech impediment, yet through relentless practice and determination, he transformed himself into one of history's most powerful orators, whose words literally helped save Western civilization. He didn't passively wait for confidence to appear. He methodically built it, one carefully crafted sentence at a time. Powerful speech carries certain recognizable qualities. Clarity instead of confusion, brevity instead of rambling, conviction instead of qualification, purpose instead of aimlessness. When you speak with these qualities, you command attention naturally without demanding it. Begin elevating your communication immediately. Eliminate weak phrasing like "I think maybe" or "sort of" or "just." Replace them with direct, clear statements. Remove unnecessary apologies that undermine your authority before you've even begun. Stand fully behind your words without hedging or backpedaling. Your physical presence reinforces your verbal message. Stand tall, maintain appropriate eye contact, and project your voice from your diaphragm rather than your throat. These subtle adjustments create dramatic differences in how others receive your message. Remember that powerful speech isn't merely about volume or aggression. The most impactful communicators often speak with measured control, strategic pauses, and thoughtful articulation. Their power comes not from dominating conversations, but from saying precisely what matters with absolute conviction. The development of this skill requires courage. Courage to hear your own voice, to stand behind your statements when challenged, to risk being wrong while fully committing to your position. But as this courage grows, so does your influence. Words create worlds. The language you use literally shapes how you and others perceive reality. Leaders throughout history have understood this principle and wielded it deliberately to move people toward action, to inspire through darkness, to transform possibility into achievement. The essential question now confronts you. Do your words consistently project life, vision, and power that pulls others toward greatness, or do they subtly reflect the fears and doubts that hold you back? Forgive fast, or drag your past forever. Bitterness is an invisible chain that binds you to your past. You cannot climb to new heights while dragging it behind you. You cannot grow to your full potential with its weight upon you. If you insist on carrying resentment, you simply lack the capacity to carry your dreams simultaneously. Forgiveness is not weakness, as many assume. It is the ultimate freedom. You were hurt deeply. You were betrayed unexpectedly. These are undeniable realities that left genuine wounds. But you must release their hold on you, because the longer you clutch these grievances, the heavier they become. Resentment silently drains your creative energy. It subtly poisons your capacity for joy. It consistently clouds your judgment about present opportunities. Forgive quickly, not because the offenders necessarily deserve your pardon, but because you deserve peace. Your future requires your full attention, unhindered by past injuries. Release these burdens through deliberate practice. Journal your authentic feelings without censoring them, then ceremonially close that chapter. Speak your pain aloud to trusted confidants, then decisively release its grip. Pray if that aligns with your beliefs. Meditate if that serves your process. Whatever specific method resonates with you, the essential action remains the same. Release these grievances completely so you can rise unencumbered. Abraham Lincoln, who faced profound personal betrayals even within his own carefully selected cabinet. Several of his closest advisors initially viewed him with contempt and actively undermined his leadership. Yet Lincoln kept his unwavering focus on the larger mission. He forgave these personal affronts and united a fractured nation precisely because his commitment to purpose dramatically outweighed his right to nurse personal pain. The capacity to forgive rapidly becomes a competitive advantage. While others remain mired in justifiable grievances, replaying old injuries and feeding resentments, you move forward with clear vision and full energy. This creates an acceleration that compounds over time, allowing you to distance yourself from those still anchored to their wounds. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting wisdom gained. You can release resentment while retaining the lessons. You can pardon offenders while implementing healthier boundaries. You can absolve past injuries while making wiser decisions about future relationships. Most critically, forgiveness liberates mental bandwidth. The human mind has finite capacity for attention and emotional processing. Every moment spent rehearsing past hurts represents capacity unavailable for creating, building, connecting, and advancing. The mathematics are simple. Less resentment equals more available energy for growth. Begin this practice immediately. Identify the specific resentments you currently harbor. Name them precisely. Acknowledge their emotional weight, then make the deliberate choice to release them, not because the offenses weren't real, but because your future is more important than your past. The penetrating question now confronts you. Are you still expending precious life energy fighting battles that ended years ago? Or are you clearing internal space for the new victories that await your full, unhindered attention? Your answer determines whether your past will remain your prison or become merely your foundation. Build a circle that sharpens you. You rise to the level of your circle. If you're surrounded by complacency, mediocrity becomes your ceiling. But when you walk with those who challenge you, you grow faster than you ever could alone. The company you keep shapes your trajectory more than almost any other factor in your life. Your circle doesn't just influence your thinking, it ultimately determines your actions, your opportunities, and your ceiling. This isn't about elitism, it's about intentional growth. Consider the 5 people you spend the most time with. Their habits, their mindsets, their ambitions. These are silently sculpting your future. Are they pulling you forward or holding you back? Do they celebrate your growth or subtly discourage it? The uncomfortable truth is that loyalty to growth-inhibiting relationships can be the anchor that prevents you from sailing toward your potential. You don't need a crowd, you need a few who reflect your future, not your past. People who call you out when you're playing small, who lift you up when challenges arise, and who won't let you settle for less than you're capable of becoming. These relationships aren't always comfortable. Iron sharpens iron through friction, not through gentle caresses. Purposefully audit your circle today. Who consistently drains your energy rather than amplifies it? Who dismisses your ambitions rather than fuels them? This isn't about cutting people off callously, but about consciously investing more in relationships that serve your vision and less in those that don't. Building a circle that sharpens you requires intentionality. Join mastermind groups where peers challenge each other's thinking. Find mentors who've walked paths you aspire to travel. Share your goals openly with those who will hold you accountable rather than those who will simply nod in passive agreement. Build alliances around shared purpose, not just shared history. History shows us the power of purposeful circles. Henry Ford's success accelerated dramatically when he surrounded himself with giants. Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, and other visionaries who formed the famous Vagabonds group. They challenged each other's thinking, shared insights across industries, and collectively sharpened one another's minds. Their individual accomplishments were magnificent, but their collective impact was revolutionary. The truth is, excellence is contagious, so is mediocrity. The difference lies in your willingness to choose the former, even when the latter feels more comfortable. Ask yourself today, is your circle your anchor or your wind? Are you surrounded by those who remind you of who you've been, or those who call forth who you could become? The company you keep isn't just a reflection of who you are, it's a preview of who you're becoming. Choose wisely. Your future self will thank you for it. Be consistent even when no one is watching. The world rewards what you do consistently, not occasionally. But most people only show up when someone is watching. They post highlights, but never build foundations. To become unstoppable, your discipline must be invisible, internal, and immovable. Your greatest strength is what you do when applause is absent. Consistency in private creates excellence in public. Anyone can perform when the spotlight shines, when motivation is high, when accountability looms, when others are watching. But champions are built in empty rooms, on cold mornings, in moments of doubt when no external force compels them forward. What separates the extraordinary from the ordinary isn't talent or opportunity. It's the willing surrender to daily disciplines when every instinct screams for comfort. It's completing the workout when nobody would know if you skipped. It's refining your craft when recognition seems distant. It's honoring commitments to yourself with the same reverence you'd give promises to others. When you show up daily, even when tired, even when discouraged, you become someone different. Your identity shifts from someone who tries to someone who is. You stop relying on fleeting motivation and start building unstoppable momentum. Your habits become your character, and your character shapes your destiny. Make your routine sacred. Wake up when you said you would. Finish what you promise yourself. Train your mind and body even when no one cares. Because in time, the results will become undeniable. The small, invisible choices made in private always manifest in public victories that appear sudden to everyone but you. This invisible consistency compounds. Each day you honor your commitments to yourself. You strengthen not just the specific skill, but your overall relationship with yourself. You develop self-trust, the unshakable confidence that you will do what you say, that your word to yourself matters. This self-trust becomes the bedrock upon which all other success is built. History's most profound leaders understood this principle. George Washington didn't lead by words alone. He led by private consistency. Through cold winters at Valley Forge, through low morale and mounting odds, he showed up. Not once, not sometimes, always. That consistency built the foundation of a nation. His men followed him not because of speeches, but because his character, forged through consistency, was unimpeachable. The paradox is beautiful. What you do when no one is watching ultimately determines what everyone will see. Your private disciplines become your public strengths. Your silent consistency becomes your visible excellence. Are you building habits in silence or waiting for a stage before you begin? Are you performing for others or preparing for greatness? The answer to these questions will determine whether your success will be fleeting or fundamental. True power lies not in occasional brilliance, but in relentless consistency. Not in what you could do, but in what you unfailingly do. Not in your intentions, but in your habits. Be consistent even when no one is watching. Eventually, everyone will see. Turn rejection into raw fuel. Rejection is not a wall, it's a weapon, if you know how to use it. Most people take rejection personally. They let it bury them. But the few who succeed take it as proof they're pushing beyond limits. Rejection means you are in motion. You are risking. You are alive. Every no you receive is evidence that you're operating at the edge of possibility. While others retreat to the safety of never asking, never trying, never risking, you stand in the arena. Your wounds aren't signs of weakness, they're medals of courage. The difference between extraordinary and ordinary often lies not in talent, but in how you process the inevitable rejections along your path. But to use rejection, you must flip its meaning. Instead of hearing, "You're not enough," hear, "Not yet." Instead of retreating, get better, improve, sharpen. Use the pain, but don't become the pain. Let it push you, not define you. Rejection isn't personal, it's simply data. Feedback for your next iteration. The masters in any field share this trait. They've faced more rejection than the average person could bear. They've simply learned to metabolize it differently. What breaks others merely bends them temporarily. They've developed the psychological alchemy that transforms disappointment into determination. Reflect on every no. Ask, what can I improve? What truth does this teach me? Turn your rejections into relentless refinement. Sometimes the lesson isn't about changing course, but about persistence. Other times it reveals blind spots you couldn't see. Either way, rejection becomes your most honest teacher when you're humble enough to learn from it. History's innovators weren't immune to rejection. They were simply immune to letting rejection stop them. Walt Disney was rejected hundreds of times by investors who said he was unrealistic, but he kept going. Why? Because the vision was bigger than the opinions, and today his name is etched into history. Your capacity to face rejection directly correlates with your potential for achievement. The greatest risk isn't being rejected. It's never putting yourself in position to be rejected at all. It's playing so safe that your dreams slowly suffocate under the weight of what-ifs and somedays. The pattern is clear. Those who turn rejection into fuel reach heights that rejection avoiders never will. They understand that comfort and greatness rarely coexist. They embrace the discomfort of temporary rejection for the exhilaration of eventual breakthrough. The question isn't whether you'll face rejection. That's guaranteed if you're pursuing anything worthwhile. The question is what you'll do with it. Will you let it convince you to shrink back into safety? Or will you use it as evidence that you're exactly where you need to be, on the edge of your potential, pushing boundaries that most never approach? Will you break from rejection or break records with it? The choice and the legacy it creates is yours alone. Discipline is freedom. It sounds like a paradox, but it is absolute truth. The more disciplined you become, the more freedom you create. Most people think discipline is a cage, but in reality, it's the master key that opens every door worth walking through. The undisciplined person is at the mercy of their environment. Their energy fluctuates with their mood. Their productivity depends on inspiration. Their health rises and falls with temptations. Their finances expand and contract with impulses. Without the structure of discipline, they live reactively, not proactively, pushed by circumstances rather than pulled by vision. Without discipline, you're a slave to mood, to impulses, to external pressure. But with discipline, you're in command. You move by choice, not by chance. You design your future. The disciplined mind acts from intention rather than reaction. It is not swayed by the whims of the moment or the path of least resistance. It understands that freedom isn't the absence of structure. It's the presence of the right structure. True freedom isn't doing whatever you want in the moment. It's having the power to achieve what matters most in life. The disciplined person is free to achieve their most ambitious goals because they've mastered themselves first. They're free from the tyranny of indecision because they've committed to clear priorities. They're free from financial stress because they've instituted spending discipline. They're free from health crises because they've maintained physical discipline. Build structure into your life. Time block your days. Stick to the schedule. Delay pleasure. Choose the pain of discipline over the pain of regret. Small, consistent actions compound into extraordinary results. The daily workout builds the strong body. The daily practice builds the exceptional skill. The daily focus builds the successful business. The daily mindfulness builds the unshakable character. Discipline is not about restriction, it's about concentration of power. Just as a river generates more force when channeled through a narrow passage, your energy creates greater impact when directed with discipline. Your time, focus, and resources, applied consistently toward defined targets, become unstoppable. Benjamin Franklin understood this. He kept a rigorous daily routine, tracking his progress, mastering his energy, refining his craft. Because of that, he influenced science, politics, and philosophy, all in one lifetime. His self-mastery allowed him a breadth of impact few humans have achieved. His discipline didn't constrain his life, it expanded it beyond what most would dare imagine possible. The paradox dissolves when you realize what discipline truly is. It's trading control over trivial choices to gain control over significant outcomes. It's sacrificing momentary pleasures for enduring satisfaction. It's choosing your future over your present. The disciplined life isn't the restricted life, it's the liberated life. It's freedom from regret, from potential squandered, from dreams deferred. It's the freedom to become exactly who you're capable of becoming. Are you free because you are disciplined, or trapped because you refuse it? Your answer determines not just what you'll do today, but who you'll become tomorrow. Never outsource your self-worth. Too many people base their worth on the opinions of others. But when your value depends on applause, you become a puppet. If they cheer, you're confident. If they boo, you're broken. That is not power. That is slavery. The external validation trap is seductive. Professional recognition, relationship approval, these feel like sustenance for the soul. But they're sugar rushes that crash, leaving you hungrier than before. When your self-pigeon is outsourced, you're perpetually at risk. One criticism can collapse what 100 compliments built. You must ground your worth in truth, in your effort, your growth, your soul's integrity. You must wake up already knowing, I matter. Not because of what they say, but because of who I am becoming. This isn't arrogance, it's ownership. It's recognizing that your value was never up for vote. It was established long before anyone had a chance to assess it. Those who command their greatest power understand that worth is internal. They measure themselves by standards they've thoughtfully chosen, not by the shifting winds of external opinion. They pursue excellence not for applause, but because excellence itself has become their standard. They build character not for reputation, but because integrity is its own reward. Affirm yourself. Look in the mirror and remind your mind that you are in charge. Don't wait for approval to feel proud. Validate your own efforts. Celebrate your own growth. Forgive your own failures. The world's opinion of you is just that, an opinion. Your truth runs deeper. This self-conviction isn't blind to feedback. It doesn't ignore constructive criticism or dismiss valuable perspective. Rather, it filters external input through internal wisdom. It asks, does this align with my values? Will this help me grow? Is this truth or merely opinion? It takes what serves and leaves what doesn't. History's most transformative figures mastered this principle. Helen Keller, deaf and blind from a young age, was told she'd never contribute to the world. But she didn't accept that verdict. She built her own voice and shook the world with it. Her worth wasn't determined by limitations others saw, but by possibilities she felt within herself. Those who outsource their worth live at the mercy of others' moods. They shapeshift to please, they perform for approval, they hide their truth for acceptance. The emotional toll is crushing, the creative cost is immeasurable, the leadership impact is comparable. Take back the authorship of your value. Stop scanning rooms to assess your standing. Stop adjusting your voice to fit expectations. Your worth is non-negotiable. It was never on the table. This doesn't mean you won't doubt. You will. But in those moments, return to your foundations, your effort, your growth, your intentions, your courage. These are the true measures of a life well lived, not the fleeting opinions that surround you. Is your value internal and unshakable, or rented from the opinions of others? The answer will determine whether you live by design or by default, whether you lead or follow, whether you create history or merely observe it. Become the example others follow. Don't just chase greatness, embody it. Let your life speak so loudly that others don't need convincing. When you carry excellence into every room, every task, every interaction, people will follow you without being asked. True influence doesn't come from position or title. It flows from who you are and what you consistently demonstrate. People follow excellence, integrity, and courage when they see it in action. While most talk about standards, the extraordinary few live them daily. This embodiment creates a gravitational pull that no management technique or leadership theory can replicate. To become the example, raise your standards. Arrive early, prepare more, speak less, and show more. Don't ask others to do what you haven't done. Let your actions make the noise. In a world of empty promises and hollow rhetoric, a person who delivers without announcement becomes magnetic. Excellence doesn't need a spotlight. It creates its own. The most powerful examples aren't perfect. They're authentic. They acknowledge struggles while showcasing resilience. They make mistakes, but take ownership. They face the same challenges as others, but respond with uncommon character. This genuine journey, visible to all, inspires more than flawless performance ever could. Leading by example isn't about grand gestures. It's about the cumulative impact of consistent choices, answering emails promptly, honoring commitments religiously, maintaining kindness when it's difficult. These seemingly small habits compound into undeniable character that others naturally want to emulate. The example setter understands that teaching happens most powerfully through demonstration. Complex concepts like integrity, work ethic, and resilience are caught through observation more than taught through explanation. Your daily conduct is writing a leadership manual that others study, whether you realize it or not. Theodore Roosevelt didn't just talk about leadership, he lived it. Whether ranching cattle or leading a nation, he embodied grit, character, and unstoppable action. His presence alone inspired movements. When he charged up San Juan Hill, he didn't point the way, he led the charge. When he advocated conservation, he didn't just sign legislation, he slept under the stars with John Muir. His life was his most compelling argument. Being the example requires tremendous self-discipline. You must hold yourself accountable when no one else will. You must maintain standards when others accept mediocrity. You must embody your principles even when it's inconvenient or unpopular. This unwavering commitment is precisely what makes your example so powerful. Others recognize the authenticity of conviction that costs something. The irony is beautiful. The more you focus on being the example rather than seeking followers, the more naturally others will follow. Leadership influence flows to those who aren't chasing it, but are instead pursuing excellence with such focus that they create a wake behind them. Are you setting the tone or waiting for someone else to lead first? Are you demonstrating the standard or just discussing it? The answers reveal whether you're positioned to shape culture or merely reflect it. Become the example that makes others believe greater achievement is possible, not through words, but through the undeniable evidence of a life well lived. Guard your time like your life depends on it. Time is the only resource you can never get back. Once it's gone forever. And yet, most people give it away like it's worthless. They say yes to distractions, waste hours on nonsense, and wonder why success never shows up. Your time is not just currency, it is your life force, parceled out in moments that accumulate into your legacy. The way you spend your hours is quite literally the way you spend your life. While people obsess over financial investments, they ignore the more critical investment of their irreplaceable time. You must become ruthless with your schedule. Every minute you give to something that doesn't move you forward steals from your purpose. Time is not just money, it's your life in motion. The most successful people on earth don't have more hours than you do. They simply guard those hours with ferocious intention. Most drift through days responding to whatever feels urgent. They react to notifications, surrender to interruptions, and wonder why they never make progress on what matters most. They treat time as if it were infinite, as if there will always be tomorrow to start the important work. But time is mercilessly finite. Start tracking your days, block time for deep work, eliminate activities that drain you. Say no without guilt. Honor your time like it's sacred, because it is. Create boundaries that others cannot cross. Develop the courage to disappoint people temporarily rather than disappoint yourself permanently. Time thieves are everywhere, disguised as quick meetings, breaks, and the tyranny of the urgent over the important. Identify them, eliminate them. Your focus is too valuable to surrender to whatever screams loudest for attention. The masters of any craft understand this principle. They don't find time for important work. They make time by eliminating the unimportant. They recognize that achievement doesn't come from doing more things, but from doing the right things with complete focus and presence. Your time management reflects your self-worth. When you allow others to constantly interrupt, when you fail to protect your creative hours, when you surrender your attention to whatever appears on a screen, you send a message about how much you value your own potential. Time is the raw material from which you craft your future. Guard it accordingly. Protect it fiercely. Invest it wisely. Use it for creation rather than consumption. Give it to the few things that truly deserve you. Do you control your time, or does your time control you? The answer determines whether you'll create the future you desire or simply watch it slip away, one distracted hour at a time. Don't seek balance. Seek paper. The world tells you to chase balance, but balance is not the goal. Clarity is. When you know what matters most, you give it your best energy, your best hours, your best self. Balance suggests equal weight, but purpose demands priority. The pursuit of balance often leads to mediocrity across all domains. You spread yourself thin, giving partial attention to everything, full attention to nothing. Purpose, by contrast, creates necessary imbalance, the kind that moves mountains, builds legacies, and changes lives. It recognizes that not everything deserves equal space in your life. You can't give everything equal time, but you can give the right things full presence. That's the difference between a scattered life and a focused legacy. When you're with your family, be fully there. When you're building your business, be all in. When you're serving your community, give it complete focus. This fullness of presence, this quality of attention matters more than perfectly distributed hours. Purpose isn't about doing less. It's about pouring yourself into what matters most. It's about organizing your life around a central mission rather than trying to fit your mission into an already crowded life. It's about making hard choices with clarity rather than easy compromises that satisfy no one, least of all yourself. Define what matters most, protect it, make sacrifices, be willing to be misunderstood by those chasing everything but standing for nothing. The purposeful life isn't always popular. It requires saying no to good things to say yes to great things. It means disappointing some to deeply impact others. It demands seasons of apparent imbalance that seem extreme to observers, but feel aligned to you. The myth of perfect balance creates perpetual guilt. You feel you're always neglecting something, but when you organize around purpose, you make peace with necessary trade-offs. You recognize certain seasons require intensity in one area. You stop expecting uniform distribution of your energy across all domains at all times. Clara Barton, founder of the American Red Cross, was not balanced. She was purposeful, and because of that, she saved thousands of lives. During the Civil War, she didn't divide her attention equally between comfortable living and battlefield nursing. She gave herself fully to her purpose, often working to exhaustion, sleeping in ambulances, and risking her life under fire. This imbalance wasn't dysfunction, it was devotion to what mattered most. Purpose creates a hierarchy of values that simplifies decisions. When you know your primary aim, you filter opportunities through that lens. You evaluate relationships, career moves, and daily habits based on whether they support or distract from your core mission. This clarity eliminates the exhausting deliberation that comes from trying to weigh everything equally. Don't misunderstand. Purpose doesn't mean neglecting health or relationships. It means integrating them purposefully rather than scattering attention aimlessly. It means recognizing that different life seasons may require different allocations of your finite energy. Are you living for balance or leading with purpose? Are you trying to do everything adequately or doing the most important things exceptionally? The answers reveal whether you're destined for impact or doomed to exhaustion. Take radical ownership. You can't change what you don't claim. The moment you blame others, you give away your power. But the moment you own it all, the setbacks, the choices, the outcomes, you become unstoppable. There is a profound difference between those who shape their circumstances and those shaped by them. The former take complete ownership, the latter distribute blame. One approach builds empires, the other builds excuses. One creates leaders, the other creates victims. The dividing line is not circumstance, it's ownership. This is not about guilt, it's about growth. If it's your responsibility, it's within your power to change. That shift is liberation. When you take radical ownership, every problem becomes a project. Every setback becomes feedback. Every challenge becomes an opportunity. The blame game ends, and the game of growth begins. Radical ownership means eliminating phrases like, "I had no choice," or "they made me" from your vocabulary. It means replacing "I can't because" with "I will find a way." It means understanding that while you may not control every circumstance, you always control your response. That response is where your power resides. Most people live in reaction to other people's expectations, to market conditions, to childhood programming. They surrender authorship of their lives to external forces, but ownership reclaims that authorship. It draws a line in the sand and declares, "From this moment forward, I am responsible for my reality." Start by reviewing your life. Where are you playing victim? Where have you outsourced responsibility? Pull it back in, own it, then fix it. Look at your relationships, your career, your health, your finances, and ask where you've been waiting for someone else to solve what only you can solve. The answers might be uncomfortable, but within them lies your breakthrough. Taking ownership doesn't mean you won't seek help or collaboration. It means you remain accountable for the outcome, regardless of others' contributions. It means never pointing fingers when things go wrong. It means saying, "I'll handle it," instead of "that's not my job." This mindset transforms teams, relationships, and organizations because ownership is contagious. George Washington Carver didn't blame society. He took ownership of his gifts and revolutionized agriculture. His power came from his personal accountability. Born into slavery and faced with overwhelming racial barriers, he could have justifiably blamed systems beyond his control. Instead, he owned his education, his research, and his impact. He didn't wait for permission to make his contribution. He didn't require perfect conditions to pursue excellence. Radical ownership is the antidote to helplessness. It's the path through which the oppressed become empowered, the struggling become successful, and the ordinary become extraordinary. It's available to anyone willing to stop outsourcing responsibility and start internalizing it. The paradox is beautiful. The more you own, the freer you become. Because true freedom isn't absence of responsibility, it's full acceptance of it. It's the power to shape what happens next, regardless of what happened before. Will you blame the world or will you own your future? The question isn't philosophical, it's predictive. Your answer will determine whether you'll be explaining why you couldn't or showing how you did. Stay humble while you rise. Success has a peculiar effect on the human spirit. As achievements accumulate and recognition grows, an invisible adversary often emerges from within. Pride. This silent saboteur doesn't announce its arrival with fanfare. Instead, it infiltrates gradually, reshaping your perspective until the ground beneath your feet feels deservedly higher than others. The most dangerous aspect of pride isn't its presence, but its deception. It convinces you that your rise is solely your doing, that your perspective alone matters, and that you've outgrown the need for guidance. Before long, what began as confidence solidifies into arrogance, a fortress that keeps wisdom out and ego in. Humility offers an alternative path, not the false humility of self-deprecation, but the authentic humility of accurate self-assessment. It's recognizing your strengths without forgetting your limitations. It's acknowledging your accomplishments while remembering the shoulders you stand upon. It's understanding that despite how far you've come, there remains infinitely more to learn. Dwight D. Eisenhower, who commanded the largest invasion force in history and later led the most powerful nation on earth, When praised for D-Day's success, he consistently redirected attention to his troops. When faced with difficult presidential decisions, he sought diverse perspectives rather than assuming his own sufficiency. His legacy endures not just because of what he achieved, but because of how he achieved it, with a humility that amplified rather than diminished his authority. The paradox of advancement is that its sustainability depends on the very quality that seems opposite to ambition. The higher you climb, the more essential humility becomes. Like a towering tree that must extend its roots proportionally to its height, your growth upward requires equal growth downward into the grounding soil of humility. This principle manifests in practical habits, remaining teachable regardless of your title, listening to feedback, especially when it challenges your thinking, attributing success liberally to others while claiming responsibility for shortcomings, approaching each day as a student, not a master. Many mistake humility for weakness, believing that self-promotion and dominance secure advancement. Yet, history and experience repeatedly demonstrate the opposite. The loudest voices often fade fastest, while those who speak with quiet confidence, rooted in capability rather than bravado, build lasting influence. Humility isn't the absence of self-awareness, but its fulfillment. It's not denying your gifts, but recognizing their source and purpose. It's understanding that your value doesn't diminish when you elevate others. As you rise, cultivate a spirit that celebrates progress without becoming intoxicated by it. Practice gratitude that acknowledges both your efforts and the countless contributions that made them effective. Remain open to correction, hungry for growth, and generous with opportunities. The truest measure of your rise isn't the height you reach, but the number you lift alongside you. And the surest way to continue ascending isn't to announce your elevation, but to keep your feet firmly planted in humility while your vision extends ever upward. Will your success make you arrogant or even more grounded? Act as if you are mean to win. The divide between those who achieve greatness and those who merely dream of it often comes down to a single transformative mindset. Winners act as if success is their birthright long before evidence confirms it. This isn't delusion, it's strategic conviction. When you examine the trajectory of breakthrough achievements, you'll notice a pattern. Those who create remarkable outcomes don't wait for external validation to adopt the identity of a winner. They embody it first, allowing their internal compass to guide their external reality, rather than the reverse. Frederick Douglass. Born into slavery, he refused to internalize the limitations imposed upon him. Long before legal freedom arrived, Douglass carried himself with the dignity and intellectual authority of a statesman. He read voraciously when literacy among enslaved people was forbidden. He spoke with the eloquence of a free man when his very personhood was denied. He envisioned himself as an equal when society insisted otherwise. His freedom began in his mind and spirit before it manifested in circumstance. This principle operates across every domain of achievement. The entrepreneur acts like a successful business owner while still working from a garage. The artist creates with the discipline of a master while still unknown. The athlete trains with championship intensity before winning any medals. They don't pretend, they prepare. Acting as if you are meant to win requires specific daily practices. Speaking with certainty rather than hesitation, walking with purpose rather than apology, dressing for the role you seek rather than the one you have, and thinking with the clarity of someone who has already overcome the obstacles ahead. But this mindset isn't about superficial posturing. It's about aligning your complete self, thoughts, words, actions, and appearance with your deepest convictions. When your external behaviors contradict your internal aspirations, you create friction that slows momentum. When they align, you create coherence that accelerates progress. The psychological mechanism at work here is profound. Your subconscious mind responds to the identity you consistently demonstrate. Act like a winner, and your mind begins orienting all your decisions toward winning. Your reticular activating system, the mental filter that determines what you notice, begins highlighting opportunities rather than obstacles. People respond differently to your presence, opening doors that remain closed to the hesitant. This approach doesn't guarantee immediate results, but it does guarantee immediate shifts in your relationship to challenges. Disappointments that might derail someone waiting for permission become mere data points for someone committed to their destination. The question isn't whether you have what it takes. The question is whether you'll behave as if you do. Starting now, before the evidence arrives. Will you wait for external confirmation of your potential? Or will you walk, speak, and think like someone destined for extraordinary achievement? Your identity precedes your results. Act as if you cannot fail, not from arrogance, but from bone-deep conviction. The world has an uncanny way of making room for those who move with such certainty. Success isn't something you chase, it's something you embody, until it has no choice but to catch up with who you've already become. You've waited long enough. Now is the time to rise, sharpen your edge, and outpace the competition. Apply these lessons with relentless focus and watch your momentum build. The unstoppable aren't born. They're built through discipline and strategy. Start applying what you learned today and let your actions silence every doubt.